Hi everyone, Marilla here again with more Spikemuth Cup practice games. Here I'm using the same team. I have the Zapdos, Swords Dance on Garchomp and Rillaboom, with the CB Urshifu, AV Azu, and Calm on Clefable. And as you might be able to read from the screenshot, you cannot change the team in the middle of the tournament in the real one either, so you want to think about your team in advance. Reminder, the competition starts on Thursday evening for American viewers and Friday midnight for European viewers. So let's get into the games. I'm against Mono. He has a really good track record in placing really high on the regular Battle Stadium singles ladder, and he really has a cool team here with the Slowking Galar, which is honestly a big problem matchup for me, but Zapdos has a positive matchup against everything else on his team. So that means that I'll be able to Volt Switch out with the Zapdos, force in the Slowking, and try to beat it down with my physical attackers. I'm going to be bringing my Azu and Rillaboom, which means that I will be left quite weak against the Slowking Galar if I am ever forced to switch into it. But I am confident in my ability to try to pressure him offensively, because Slowking Galar is a good Pokemon, but it's quite a bit reactive. So I am going to be able to lead into this Urshifu with the Zapdos. He either has to attack into my Zapdos, taking Rocky Helmet, Volt Switch, and Static Chance, or he will have to switch out into Slowking. I have no doubt that he will try to switch into Slowking, and as I said in the previous session, I definitely don't have a good switch into poison types, special poison type moves, and I'm almost forced to stay on top of my game here and try to pressure the Slowking offensively so it cannot get room to just fire off free Sludge Bombs against my physically defensive Zapdos, and two things weak to Sludge Bomb. And as I said, because I am so strapped for counterplay against the Slowking, that's why I figured that he will almost certainly bring it in. He definitely had it in the back for sure. And I'm gonna go for the knockoff and try to scout what his Rillaboom answer is. And he reveals Togekiss. And in fact, that takes very little from it. It must be very physically defensive, as seen by the Rocky Helmet. And that means that I am probably going to try to whittle this Togekiss down. And once that happens, my Rillaboom will be in a great position. I bring in my Azu, which I brought specifically for this matchup. Togekiss also has a pretty decently good offensive matchup against my team. My team is, in general, quite weak to special attackers. So that is definitely something I do want to handle in my team building. He double switches out into the Slowking, which is a great play, but my Azu switching was a great mid-ground. I have positive matchup against everything on his team, and I'm able to go for liquidation. I do over 60%. Might KO with the Play Rough, which is resisted now. And on top of that, his Sludge Bomb is not even a 2-hit KO. So I am gonna try to take this opportunity to go for a prediction, and I go for a Play Rough, because I am almost certain that his Urshifu has something to hit Azu with. And if he were to go hard into the Urshifu on the liquidation, that could have actually gone really bad for me. But he does go into Togekiss, and I'm okay with this. I do heal up with Grassy Terrain, and now that he has shown unwillingness to take that risk, I will just go for a liquidation. I do go for the liquidation, which, as you know, has the chance to drop his physical defense. And I'm gonna go for the liquidation that only did a bit below half. So I do need to keep going for this liquidation. Let's see what he goes for. Again, he has the option to switch into the Urshifu on the water move, but in fact, yes, that is very risky. and he goes for the Air Slash Flinch, doesn't get it. Now I'm going to go for the Aqua Jet. He's in range, and I have no reason to predict around this Togekiss. Because remember, I do have a Rillaboom in the back, and this is now definitely in range of that Life Orb Grassy Glide. So he has to either switch out and be left very vulnerable to this Rillaboom in the back, or he lets go of the Togekiss. And I am in a pretty good spot here. He has revealed both of his options. He has the Slowking and the Urshifu. He goes into Urshifu. A wise choice, because going into Slowking lets me sack the Azu to the Slowking and just click Grassy Glide twice. So it's still not sure that it is still a fact that Urshifu is a poor matchup against the Azu, and I do read the Poison Jab, and I'm able to get the free switch in with the Zapdos, and I will get to Volt Switch out for momentum. So that didn't work out for him, but still, it was his best way to play around this potential. This gave him the best odds here, for sure. But I am able to just go back out into the Azu, and as I said before, this is going to give me this big damage onto this Slowking, and now this is potentially a roll because he's around at 60%-ish, and that's how much Liquidation did last time. Let's see if I get a high roll or low roll, and I get a crit, fortunately, so no need to worry about the rolls. But as I said before, it was the same situation as last time. If on the Azu KOing the Togekiss, he brought in the Slowking instead of Urshifu. It's the same exact scenario. So I'm gonna go for the play rough here. I don't want to risk him being something silly like, for example, bulk up. That could lose me the game. If he bulks up and I am not able to KO it with the Rillaboom and he gets to OHKO the Zapdos. So I am gonna let this Azu die. I'm gonna get as much chip damage with the Rocky Helmet and potential static here with Zapdos. It'd be nice if I can live that as well. He goes for a Wicked Blow, and that seems to be banded, in fact. So that is great that I survived. This is definitely in range of Grassy Glide now, and I'm gonna win the game here. Overall, pretty happy with how I played around the Slowking. As I said, I am quite weak against those special attackers, and I definitely want to change my team to respond to them better, but I had to face against both the Slowking and the Togekiss, which were both not very good matchups for me, but I was able to play around that against a strong player. So, happy that I played around it, but maybe some more to think about with the team building. Second game against Will. I've also seen you in the comment section as well. Thank you for joining, and let's talk about the game. I do think Rillaboom is a great matchup here. It beats everything other than the Corviknight and the Cinderace, but Cinderace cannot switch in. I do have a Zapdos that will flank the Corviknight and force momentum with me, and I think I bring Azu as well in order to pressure the Hippo, which might be something that might pressure my own Zapdos. So I'm gonna lead with the Azu, and for probably the best case scenario for me is that he does not have slack off on his Hippo, and then he would have minimal ways to play around the Zapdos. But that is not the case. I'm not able to get immediate damage on the Hippo turn 1 with the Azu. But with my Assault Vest, I feel confident in just going for a play rough. This should definitely 2-hit KO unless I get burned. And either way, I should be able to put a lot of damage onto this. I didn't want to just sacrifice my health on the Zapdos, risking without knowing what exactly the Rotom has in store. And of course, I didn't want to switch in Rillaboom on a burn. So I'm just going to go for more play roughs. And this discharge is going to do quite a sizable chunk. So I think that might have actually 2-hit KO with the discharge. So it seems fairly offensively invested. With the benefit of hindsight, you could try to argue that that was a bad play, but I did consider going, for example, Zapdos on that switch in, and that would have really ruined my Zapdos and my game plan against whatever he has in the back. I am just gonna get this chip damage on the Hippo. Hippo, always you want to get some chip damage on it. It always tries to EV to survive everything just by a sliver. And Hippo goes for Stealth Rock and reveals the Rocky Helmet as its held item. In fact, that reveal tells me a lot about this Hippo, because if he's Rocky Helmet, he definitely has Slack Off. And the way he went for Stealth Rock as opposed to EQ also tells me that he definitely will go for this Slack Off here. I'm gonna take this opportunity to go hard into the Rillaboom on a move that isn't Yawn, because if I get Yawned, this could be really bothersome. But I do have the Azu saved in the back, so this is a win-win for me. I do get the Slack Off correct, on top of saving the Azu for sack fodder. And I do not have Wood Hammer, which would want to KO even fully physically defensive Hippo. But I'm just going to go for the Grassy Slide. As I said before, I am deathly afraid of a potential Yawn here. I don't want to Sword Stance up here and get Yawned, right? That would definitely be the worst case scenario. But he seems to not go for the Yawn, so I might just go for one more Grassy Glide. It is... Because even though he didn't go for Yawn this time, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have it. It also doesn't mean that... Oh, I do go for the... Never mind, I do go for the Sword Stance here. I think I wanted to Sword Stance up before the grassy terrain ran out. So I am able to catch this Hippo on the Slack Off, which basically wastes a turn for him. I definitely think if he had Yawn, this was a great turn to go for it. But some Hippos don't carry Yawn. I don't think that's a good decision, by the way. But some people do have EQ plus Ice Fang. So yeah, if you didn't have Yawn, then I guess there was no playing around that. But if you did, I think that was the way out for you. Because as he reveals this turn, he has Rillaboom in the back. So this pick of 3 was really, I think this was a big mistake on him, picking Rotom, Hippo, and Rillaboom. Rillaboom is a grass resist, but I mean Rillaboom can't be a good Rillaboom check, unless you have a very specialized set like, for example, Grassy Seed, Acrobatics. And at that, it's a one-time check at best, so I am just gonna get this Grassy Glide KO. I was revealed to be faster by the Grassy Terrain recovery, so I had no reason to not go for the Grassy Glide here. And the Grassy Terrain does run out, but Hippo against the +2 Rillaboom, even without the Grassy Terrain, doesn't really stand a chance. So good game. I think the mistake was not bringing either Cinderace or Corviknight. I think Cinderace was a slightly better bring because, as I said in team preview, Corviknight just lets in Zapdos for free. So that's a positive cycle for me. So, but I'm gonna take this with the Rillaboom. Hippo goes down to a single Grassy Glide. Good game. This game I'm also, again, against quite a strong team. He has triple electrics, and Rillaboom, which makes me really wary of bringing Azumarill. Unfortunately, it's gonna have to sit this one out. What makes it more awkward here is that the Togekiss. My main way of checking Togekiss is my Azu, so I'm going to have to wing it on the fly. I'm going to bring 3 Pokemon that can situationally beat Togekiss. Zapdos has the Volt Switch, Garchomp can Sword Dance, and after that I can do a lot of damage to the Togekiss. And of course the Clefable, if I call Mind Up, I can ignore any potential nasty plots and start winning that 1v1. I do lead with the Zapdos here, and my opponent leads with the Togekiss. Wise play because he has quite a good matchup with the Togekiss, and if I were to let up and lead weakly against the Togekiss, that could have been really bad. But I'm just going to go for this a Volt Switch. Air Slash is not going to do too much. Dazzling Gleam means that I will be guaranteed getting off that damage. So there's a good chance that he will just switch out, because if he takes the damage on the, what do you call the Togekiss, then he is left significantly weaker to Garchomp. And Garchomp is definitely going to be my win condition here. And I do bring in the Garchomp here on against the Magnezone. And I'll go for the Sword Stance here, probably. Let's see what he reveals. He reveals lefties. So that is probably a Body Press Iron Defense type of set. And that means that he doesn't have too much investment to do crippling damage with Flash Cannon. And he goes straight out into the Togekiss, and I'm gonna get the Sword Dance up, and that means that I can win this 1v1. Unless he has the Choice Scarf, I'm gonna be able to outspeed this. And unless he has a damage boosting item, this Dazzling Gleam is not gonna KO. And he goes for the Dazzling Gleam with the Choice Scarf, so he does not KO. And Rock Slide should KO unless it is physical. It's got a lot of investment in bulk. So now that once this matchup has been won for the Garchomp, now it's a very threatening position. He brings the Rillaboom, which means that fortunately he's not going to lose the game here on the spot. He has a way to play out of this matchup. But he is definitely forced to go for the Grassy Glide. And I'll take this opportunity to just go hard into my physically defensive Zapdos. By hard, I mean directly switching in as opposed to sacking this Garchomp and letting the Zapdos get the free switch in. You could argue for that, given that Zapdos has Heat Wave and his Magnezone has revealed leftovers and seems to be probably be a very physically defensive set with not much special attack investment, so Zapdos should be able to win this game alone, all by itself. Of course, I will simply go for the Heat Waves. I don't want to miss Hurricane, and that's probably the only way I can actually lose this. And here we see that I have enough HP to survive another knockoff. So that's why I will go for the Heat Wave there. And if I were to miss that one, I would just go for the Roost, and that would be very safe as well. So he switches into the Magnezone. I get the Heat Wave off, and this is going to seal the game. This opponent has an interesting Dreadnought Rain team. So he has a couple of Pokemon, including the Zapdos and the Ferrothorn, that has good synergy with the Rain. I do want to lead with the Zapdos, which has good matchup here. And Rillaboom, I feel like it is necessary to handle the Dreadnought. And finally, I have a Clefable, which is going to be my catch-all answer to Ferrothorn, Garchomp, and all that. Here, I do get a fairly safe Volt Switch off, and I get to see exactly what my opponent goes for. He reveals Eerie Impulse, and this is a problem. And I thought my bring of Clefable was gonna work out against the Zapdos, but it turns out if he has Eerie Impulse, then I cannot really make progress on the Zapdos. So I am going to go into the Clefable here still, and probably, and that way I'll be able to go back into the Zapdos without taking unnecessary Hurricane or Heat Wave damage. And my best answer here is going to be setting up a stalemate situation. So I want to somehow force some damage on the opposing Zapdos or some other member, and I want to win on the timer. Of course, he can also use Roost and recover damage from his Zapdos, but his Zapdos is faster. This is actually a good thing for me. I am able to Roost second, so that means that I have a natural advantage in making sure that I can stay fully topped off for the tiebreaker situation. So what I'm going to do is also another thing that I do want to try eventually is going for the Heat Waves onto the Zapdos as much as possible. And that way, if I get a burn on the Zapdos, then this forces his hand. So that will not make sure that I completely win the game, of course. Getting the burn on the Zapdos will merely stop my opponent from just sitting on me with his Zapdos. Because if he were to do that, then he would lose the game. So naturally, he would be the one under pressure to actually make the progress. And I do talk a lot about just trying to get this, the tiebreaker. But this is not exactly a boring situation, because maybe you guys have noticed, but if you guys saw the first discharge did 67 HP, and 3 of the same roll there would in fact KO my Zapdos. So I do want to make sure to use as little of my roosts as possible, but at the same time to leave myself with enough HP with the Zapdos, so that way I can stay topped off. And as I said earlier, whenever I do have the ability to go for a Heat Wave without risking a 2-hit KO, then I will go for the Heat Wave. This will allow me to go for as many chances to burn the opposing Zapdos as possible. And if I were to get the burn, that would be really nice. But I really can't bank on that too much. So he does go for the Eerie Impulse. And it is abundantly clear to me that there is no way I can make progress against the Zapdos. I'll go for the KO against the Zapdos, unfortunately. So maybe I should have brought something else, but so far, just because I brought suboptimally doesn't mean that I am going to just give up my game here. And because my best way to win this game would be to get the burn on the Zapdos, I will go for it as much as possible.
my opponent decides to switch out his Zapdos here. I do think this is a wise choice because, well, assuming that he does not have Heat Wave, the fact that he did not go for them at all makes me assume that he also did not have Heat Wave. And that way, if I were to have this Zapdos versus Zapdos showdown, I will eventually get the burn off more often than not. And he does not want to deal with the potential tiebreaker loss when the situation happens, right? He gets to go to the Ferrothorn here and gets to threaten something, making progress on the Zapdos.
And I do go into the Clefable here, which of course is not was not without its risk. Ferrothorn does carry Gyro Ball fairly frequently, and I am going to switch go for the Flamethrower against the Ferrothorn, and he just gets to bring out his Zapdos and take the Flamethrower comfortably. And after 2 rounds of Leech Seed damage, my Clefable is definitely still now at lower HP than his Ferrothorn, so now I'm behind in the tiebreaker. But I can't just soft Moonlight back up now. I do want to shed the Leech Seed first. And yeah, he does have the Hurricane, so that's why he is not comfortable staying in on this 1v1 Zapdos mirror. He does get the Eerie Impulses off, but I do eventually want to get my Zapdos to Volt Switch out against his Zapdos, and that way I'll be able to heal up my Clefable, right? I do go for the Heat Wave here. I do think that this was a good time to go for the Volt Switch here, but I am still trying to kind of get the burn now while I have the opportunity. But at the same time, I don't want to Volt Switch on the Discharge, because that would mean that my opponent could potentially get the Discharge 3-hit KO against the Zapdos. And if I were to go Volt Switch on the Discharge, as I am risking here, I also at the same time want to try to switch my Zapdos in on a non-discharge. So, and that way I will be not risking the potential 3-hit KO. And now I'm able to get the Clefable in safely. Even if he has a very strongly invested Hurricane, this Hurricane is not enough to stop me from going at full health after Citrus and Moonlight Recovery. So I am in full HP with the Clefable, and his Ferrothorn does not have full HP, so now he is very pressured now. Now he needs to make progress on my team somehow, for sure. But my Zapdos is also probably quite difficult for him to break through, as well, as if he has a very defensive Zapdos and a Ferrothorn, what's his last going to be? Right, so here there's many last Pokemon options that he could have brought that gives him no way to break the Zapdos. He goes for the Hurricane Confusion, which honestly might be his best bet, because especially now that we see the 3-minute warning, and I am now just going to spend all my 45 seconds per turn, And I do think he should have went for the Hurricanes still, because this charge is never doing more than 50% to my Zapdos. So I am just gonna use up all my time, and I do have Roost on the first slot, exactly to make sure that I can spend every single bit of my time here. And yeah, I'm gonna win. I have exactly 45 seconds. A really good run here for sure. A lot of wins against really strong Pokemon that I expect to see a lot. For me, for my time zone, the competition is going to start tomorrow. So everyone, good luck. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.